Three tiny puppies stood in the middle of a scorching highway, risking their lives to stop a truck driver. But they weren't begging for food, they were begging for him to follow. What he discovered deep in the woods will break your heart, and then heal it. It was the kind of summer afternoon where the heat pressed down on the earth like a heavy blanket. Out on a lonely stretch of highway in the American Midwest, the sun blazed mercilessly, turning the asphalt into a shimmering river of light. The tar bubbled in places, and every breath carried the smell of burnt rubber and dust. The road stretched for miles, flat, endless, and empty. Semi-trucks thundered by every few minutes, their engines roaring, their trailers rattling like thunder across the plains. Wheels kicked up clouds of dust that lingered in the air, coating the brittle grass on either side. To most travelers, it was just another scorching day, a place to pass through without slowing down. But hidden a mile deep in the woods, something tragic was unfolding. Beneath a tangle of thorn bushes lay a dog, a mother. Her fur, once golden and thick, was streaked with dirt, dried blood, and mats of burrs. Her breathing was shallow, ribs rising and falling in painful rhythm. Her body trembled from exhaustion and pain. She had been attacked 2 nights earlier. Coyotes had prowled near her den, and though she fought with every ounce of strength to protect her puppies, the fight left her broken. A leg snapped under the weight of sharp jaws, and deep gashes lined her ribs. Yet even in her pain, she shielded her young. Her 3 puppies, barely 7 weeks old, huddled close, pressing their tiny bodies into her side. Their fur, once fluffy and cream-colored, was now caked with dust and dried mud. Hungry, weak, and trembling, they whimpered softly, pawing at her face. She licked them gently, nudging them toward her belly, even when she had no milk left to give. By the 3rd day, she knew. She wouldn't last. That morning, as the sun burned high and the cicadas screamed from the trees, the mother nudged her puppies again, this time away. Her eyes held steady, urging them forward. They were too young to understand death, but old enough to obey instinct. Somehow they knew what she wanted: find help. The mile to the highway was endless for little paws. They stumbled across roots, slid down dry ditches, and scraped their bellies on sharp rocks. The sun beat down, searing their tiny pads. They squeezed through barbed wire fences, thorns snagging at their fur. Twice they nearly turned back, crying in confusion, but something stronger than fear kept them going. At last, the distant roar of engines, the smell of gasoline, the shimmering ribbon of road. They reached the shoulder, trembling, exhausted, barely able to stand. Down the highway came a silver 18-wheeler driven by Frank Carter, a 68-year-old long-haul driver. Frank had been on the road most of his life. Widowed 10 years ago, his kids long gone, he spent his days hauling freight across the Midwest. His truck was his companion, the highway his home. That afternoon, his mind wasn't on puppies or woods or anything close to it. He was thinking about his next delivery, maybe about grabbing pie and coffee at a diner down the road. He had no idea his life was about to change forever. Then he saw them. 3 small shapes in the road. "Lord, no," Frank muttered, slamming the brakes. The truck screeched, tires screaming against the asphalt, the trailer swaying as dust exploded around him. His heart thundered in his chest. He flung open the door and leapt down, bracing himself for the worst. He'd seen too many things on lonely roads: stray animals, deer struck by cars, lives lost in an instant. He expected lifeless bodies. But instead, he found life. 3 tiny puppies stood before him. One staggered forward, pressing its muddy paws against his boot. Another whimpered, trying to leap but collapsing halfway. The 3rd rose shakily on its hind legs, pressing both front paws against his jeans as if in prayer. They weren't begging for food, they were begging him to follow. Something broke open inside Frank. His eyes burned as he crouched down, rough hands trembling. "Where's your mama?" he whispered, voice catching. The puppies yipped weakly and turned. They stepped off the road, pausing to glance back at him, as if to say, "Come." And Frank followed. Through weeds waist-high, across gravel that bit into his boots, sweat rolling down his back in the suffocating heat. The pup stumbled ahead, stopping every few feet to make sure he was behind them.
His breath grew heavy, but his determination sharpened. Half a mile into the woods, they slipped under a thorn thicket. Frank bent low, pushing branches aside, until he froze. There she was, the mother dog, broken, bleeding, barely alive. Her twisted leg lay useless in the dirt. Flies swarmed the gashes on her ribs. Her body was a shell of what it had been. Yet her eyes, those amber eyes, met him without fear. Calm, steady, almost relieved. Not a growl, not a bark, only trust. Frank knelt beside her, brushing dirt gently from her face. His throat tightened. "I've got you now, girl." She closed her eyes. Frank didn't make his delivery that day. Instead, he wrapped her in the old wool blanket from his truck, lifting her fragile body carefully into his arms. The 3 puppies stumbled after him, tails wagging faintly despite exhaustion. Together they climbed into the cab. Frank's calloused hands gripped the wheel as he drove, not toward his destination, but toward hope. He sped past towns, ignoring the clock, heart pounding. His eyes flicked to the passenger seat, where the mother lay weakly, her pups nestled against her. Finally, the green sign for a small-town vet clinic appeared. Frank pulled in hard, gravel crunching under his tires. He burst through the door, carrying the mother dog against his chest, the puppies trailing after him. Dr. Lawson, the vet, took one look and sprang into action. Back room, now. Hours passed. X-rays, stitches, fluids, pain medicine. Frank sat in the waiting room, sweat-soaked shirt clinging to his back, the 3 pups curled in his lap like warm bundles of hope. He stroked their fur, whispering, "Hang in there, babies. Hang in there, Mama." At last, Dr. Lawson emerged, wiping her brow. "She's badly hurt, broken leg, deep cuts, dehydration. But," she smiled softly, "she's a fighter. With time, she'll make it." Frank leaned back, letting out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. That day marked a new life. Weeks passed. Frank built a pen in his backyard, then added a small red fence. He bought food, toys, and blankets. He'd never owned pets, never thought himself the type. But now, each morning before leaving for work, he checked on them. Each night, when headlights guided him home, 4 wagging tails greeted him at the gate. Neighbors teased him. "Didn't know you were a dog man, Frank." He'd just smile, scratching a pup's ear. "Didn't know it myself." But the truth was deeper. They had saved him as much as he saved them. The silence of his home, once heavy and hollow, now rang with life. Paws scampering on hardwood, bowls clinking, laughter he hadn't known he still had. Months later, the sight of Frank's home told a new story. A modest house with a red fence, an old silver truck parked under the oak tree. In the yard, a golden dog rested in the sun, eyes half closed, her body healed. Nearby, 3 dogs wrestled, barked, or napped lazily in the grass. And on the porch sat Frank, coffee in hand, a soft smile on his weathered face as he watched his unexpected family. Sometimes love doesn't arrive in words. Sometimes it comes on 4 legs with dust in its fur and desperation in its eyes. Sometimes it takes a silent plea to remind us that home isn't a place, it's who waits for you there. Thank you for listening to this story. If it touched your heart, let us know in the comments. We read everyone. And if you'd like more stories like this, make sure you're subscribed. There's another one waiting for you right here on our channel.